Police Bureau, and having enough of those, particularly in Central Precinct, out and working, I think will help a lot. Another thing we really need is a mental health intake facility for people that are, found out in the community, on the street, that need somewhere to go. We have that for people with severe alcohol problems with the Hoover Detox Center. We don't have a facility like that here in Portland for people with mental illness. So we need that. The state is curiously building new major mental health facilities in, I believe, Junction City and Salem, and yet here's the population center. Here's where the greatest need is. So that's certainly a discussion we need to have with the government. So I think all of those strategies will make a difference.
How do you pay for it?
You pay for it as we do in the whole city budget by prioritizing basic services. Right now, the city auditor says the city is at a 6-to-1 ratio of workers who deliver direct services, police officers, firefighters, people with no grass in parks, people that pave streets. Those workers to managers and overhead is 6-to-1. It should be 10-to-1 as the state is moving towards. Less overhead positions, more direct service positions. Take the mayor's office. Mayor Adams has 24 staff. Mayor Katz had 12. Start at the top and find money for basic services by leaning down the very expensive overhead positions that are a choice and not the right one for how we spend scarce dollars.
Representative Smith.
Yes, so first it's the right prescription, and then it's how we pay for that prescription. We have a mobile mental health crisis unit, as I mentioned before, that is neither mobile nor a crisis unit. It's not mobile because it's one precinct with one vehicle. It's not a crisis unit because it is not expected to be a first responder. We don't need a mental health professional in every police car. What we do need is a mobile crisis unit in at least one in every precinct. Another thing that we ought to do is right now the expectation is that each officer receives some training with respect to mental illness. What we ought to do is, even if we kept that 101 expectation, we need a 201 or a 301 expectation. And we might save some money by focusing on that, so that when there is a problem involving mental illness, you don't call any officer who has received the same cursory training and has no particular inclination to address that particular challenge. You call one of the officers that has taken that training by choice, who has both the training and the self-selection advantages, and will do it better. Other places have adopted that best practice. We can also. That wouldn't cost anything more. Other ways we can save. I'm glad to hear Charlie joining me in calling for a reevaluation of our span of control, our staff management ratios. I carried the bill, House Bill 2020, in the State House to set an aspirational level to improve those staff management ratios in the state. We should look at that in the city. We also need to go further. One of the reasons that I've been hesitant to say yes to some major projects is not because I hate major projects. It's because I want to demonstrate fiscal discipline. Whether it comes to a sustainability center or a Columbia River crossing or a set of streetcars. It's not because I hate all of those projects or even any of them. It's because I want to make sure we can spend our money on priorities. So to say yes to some things, we have to demonstrate our willingness to say no to others.
Specifically, a couple of issues. Broad threshold. Arbor and the Oregon Employment Relations Board have both ruled that he should be reinstated. Mayor Adams is hoping to appeal that. City Council appears at this point to be backing that quest. And that's not an inexpensive endeavor. So, Commissioner Hales, I'll start with you. Just very brief. Do you support Mayor Sam Adams' hope to challenge that reinstatement?
I supported the decision to fire Officer Greshauer and the decision to appeal it to the Employee Relations Board. I believe now, though, that we've crossed from an environment in which something can change to one where we're having a symbolic effort. And what we need to change are the front-end training and rules of engagement that our police officers deal with. One sharp difference, I think, between us on this race is I believe this 48-hour rule that says we cannot interview an officer about the use of force until after 48 hours needs to change. And we need to also change some of our rules for how we use force. Tasers are a useful public safety tool, but I believe the report is correct in saying we are probably using them too often and too much. So there are rules that need to change about how force is used and how we deal with the aftermath when it is used. but I don't think continuing to appeal the fresh hour decision will end up with any different result.
Representative Smith?
Yeah, I've said publicly, we should turn over every stone in the fresh hour decision, provided we have a legal leg to stand on. What I'm unclear about is if we do now. We spent, I think, about $750,000 on that case. That is not the greatest tragedy in that case. It's not in the top 3, but it is something to be cognizant of. And I do think we need to be putting as much energy as possible into the underlying problem. I want to challenge one thing. I don't think there is a sharp difference. Right now, the United States Constitution provides a permanent right for an individual not to self-incriminate. The question is, what's going to be the standard whereby someone is interviewed and required to alleviate that and disabuse themselves of that constitutional standard? I think that should be a matter of collective bargaining. Not only the hours we should be looking at, but who is doing the interview. And I think it is an issue that's going to require significant discussion. What I do support is absolute immediate interviews of the scene to make sure that we're